Hello, everybody. It's good to see you again. I am coming at you with one final book haul of my travels in California. And this one that I have for you today is probably the one that I'm the most excited about personally. It's one where I found some books that I have, like I posted actually in a video earlier today, that I've been literally dreaming about. So I'm really excited for it. It comes from two different locations, one that was a local school thing and one that was about a 30 minutes walk from here in a warehouse section. And I've never been to a bookstore or a used bookstore that's like a warehouse type thing. It had vinyl, it had CDs, it had tapes. So very vintage, very cool, and a really good, expansive and organized catalog that made finding great finds pretty easy. So I'm really excited. The thing I'm going to start with is the thing that I got from the school. And the first item I'd like to show you is something I'm particularly excited about, and it's the Simon Armitage translation of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And for those of you who are regular viewers of my channel, you'll know that I love this work. This is an Anglo-Saxon poem that is a Christmas story. It's one of the stories that I anticipate I'll read every Christmas, that tells the story of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table having a feast one Christmas when a Green Knight strolls in and gives a challenge to the court, which is taken up by Sir Gawain. And the challenge is to take one strike at his head with a mighty axe, and in 1 year's time, the knight will return the blow. And of course, every knight at the table thinks, gee, this is an easy game, you just gotta cut his head off, and then what is he gonna do about it? And yet, all of them, for some reason, don't step up. And King Arthur himself won't step up at first. He's waiting for his knights, and eventually he waits so long that he's going to do it himself. So Sir Gawain steps up, cleaves the knight's head clean off, only for the knight to pick it up, say, meet me in 1 year's time in the Green Chapel. And the story kicks off from there. It's an amazing story. It's very cozy. It's perfect for reading around a fire. It's a perfect story, actually, to read with your friends or family. There's 4 sections, so if you want to read a section in the evening, that's a tradition that I would like to get kind of going in my own circle. But the reason I'm really excited for this particularly, not only is this from the current poet laureate of the United Kingdom, Simon Armitage, but this translation, or I should say this edition, has text from the original Middle English, I believe, and also the translation on the other side. So it's kind of like the Beowulf, Seamus Heaney, with the Iron Mail cover. I call this Middle English, although I think this is a little further away from Chaucer's Middle English. It's not so old as to be unreadable by modern native English speakers, but when you read it, it definitely has that goofiness that us Americans can see in it. So I'm really excited for this. This is going to be amazing. By the way, this is a rather larger haul, which is amazing, but this might go on for a little while, so get cozy, take your time, and hopefully we'll have a good time chatting about some books. This next one I'm super stoked about, although I probably say that about every book that I get. But this one relates to me personally. This is A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson, and it is his recollections of hiking on the Appalachian Trail. And I think I've mentioned before that hiking the Pacific Crest Trail is a goal of mine. And this, from what I know about it, and I think I've seen a copy of this actually in my dad's library, maybe, so I'll ask him about this. But this is recounted in a humoristic manner, so I'm really excited to share some company on the Appalachian Trail with a guy who's apparently very funny. And I flipped to like a random page in this and read just some of the prose, and it was pretty funny. Someone said something along the lines of, "You smell like Jeffrey Dahmer's refrigerator," or something like that. So that's going to be a bit of a hoot. I'm stoked. These are sort of miscellaneous items right here. The Greek guides to learning Greek. And it's something that I'd like to dive in one day because I want to give the Iliad and the Odyssey a good old-fashioned college try in the original Greek. And I think it would just be a fun little exercise with language. I should probably do this with Latin as well, but this is part of my personal classical education that I never received from my schooling that I'm trying to, I wouldn't say rectify, but something that would be fun to do in the future. So if any of you have taken Greek, let me know if these 2 textbooks are any good. I know there's so many online websites for it, but I feel like having an online source for learning languages somehow, I don't know, it doesn't feel like you would connect with it as much, and especially having choice fatigue with so many options. So yeah, the next book, this is exciting because I mentioned this in one of my earlier book hauls from this California trip. This is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but it's the 1818 text. It's the one that I wanted to have. So, this text, from what I understand, is just a bit more pagan, maybe you could say. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but maybe a bit more pagan, a bit more electric, less refined. Mary Shelley was younger. She was probably, from what I've heard of this text is more sexually charged than the revised edition, where she may have been a bit of an older woman and a bit more prudent. So it'd be good to have both. The cover is definitely... the cover, actually, now that I really look at it, is beautiful and kind of sad, because Frankenstein's looking into his reflection and sees almost a very feminine face looking back at him. It's very interesting. Yeah, so I'm excited for this. I think I'll read this before I read the revised edition again. Next is... this is the only Hemingway I've ever read, but I think my old copy got swallowed by my dad's library, and I want him to have a copy, and I really liked the cover of this. And it's his Immovable Feast. And from some people, from some sources, some of my friends say that this is the only Hemingway that's really readable. They find a lot of his prose insufferable, but a lot of this I think is pretty humorous. So we'll see how it goes on a reread. I'm not really sure. I'm actually not sure how I will respond to Hemingway at all these days, because it's been a while since I've read him. But it's good to have. And this is a work that I read for college that I really enjoyed, but I think I got it in a series of paper handouts. So I saw this and I was really excited. But it's Boethius' The Constellation of Philosophy, which he wrote while he was in prison, expecting to get released from prison, expecting his friends to bail him out. And the text of this, the sort of, I don't want to say the plot, but the status quo, you might say, is that philosophy personified visits him in his cell and, needless to say, consoles him. And it's beautifully written, and it has some beautiful morals that I saw parts of myself reflected in this, and I saw parts that were new to me, so I feel like it's a good text to go back to. But the end of the story, sadly, is that he was executed. He actually died, and he didn't expect that to happen. So I mean, if only we could know what were his final thoughts. I wonder if he could have really been consoled. And now that I think about this, maybe a good companion piece to this would be reading something like The Death of Ivan Ilyich, where the person in question in the story knows they're going to die, and they're scraping for some kind of consolation and are having a heck of a time finding it. Constellation of Philosophy by Boethius, which I think was written in Latin, by the way, in a kind of medieval Latin. This next thing, this is really great. This is The Soul of Roomie. It's a collection of Rumi poems, and Rumi is a poet who I've never read more than a couple of poems in their entirety, but whose quotes pop up everywhere in Western society today. So I'm just excited to have something. Well, for one thing, it's a beautiful edition. It's got the deckled edges and these French flaps. So that's really, really cool. It's a nice red. It feels, it feels very hearty for some reason. I'm really excited for this. But I don't know much about him, so I'll have to probably read a little bit about his life and biography before I jump into it. Okay, the next thing, this is great because when I was road tripping out here for one trip, I listened to, and I've mentioned this, True Grit by Charles Portis 3 times as narrated by Donna Tartt, the author, who also wrote an essay and then recited the essay in the audiobook that I loved. So I really respect her, and from what I know about Donna Tartt is that she's an author who is not prolific. She writes a book about once every 10 years, and this is the one that has gotten the most attention. The Goldfinch. By the way, all of these are used, so all of these were great deals, and this is in great condition. It has like 1 or 2 pages that are a little bit scrumpled and scrunched, but for the most part, it looks great. And I think my mom really enjoyed this book, so I'm stoked to have it. Yeah, it won the Pulitzer Prize, so there you go. And also Lonesome Dove won the Pulitzer Prize, so I have some Pulitzer Prize winners here. All right, the next is a Raymond Chandler book. This is The Lady in the Lake. I don't know anything about this, but I know that Raymond Chandler wrote The Big Sleep, and that is a book that post-reading The Maltese Falcon I definitely want to read as part of the darker noir pulp genre. And the cover of this is also a bit gruesome when you actually take a closer look. It's obviously a woman's body, but her head is obscured in a way that's very strange and kind of alien looking. So Raymond Chandler, I'm excited to get to it. All right, what else have I got? I think those are all the books that I got from that school thing, and everything else was from this great bookstore. The last one is Thomas Paine, Common Sense and Other Writings. I read Common Sense when I was in middle school, I believe, and I found it really readable, and I enjoyed it. And Probably like some of you out there, I try to not think about American politics today. And live in a world of the people who are immediately around me and the things that are immediately happening to me and the art that I'm interacting with. That's the world that I've sort of cultivated for myself. But of course, I want to be a good citizen in a way. So I think this is a book I'm going to read and then kind of reflect on what the hell is happening right now. So yeah, Thomas Paine. All right, where should I go from here? All these books that I'm looking at right now are so exciting. I'm really, really, really stoked to get to any of them. I'll start with this. This is the collected works of Walt Whitman. And the reason I picked this up, I saw lots of poetry collections, but the one reason I picked this up is because I've recently had a bit of a fascination with the literary critic Harold Bloom. And Harold Bloom, I mean, he's probably known to almost all of you. He's famous for championing the canon, the Western canon, and the two great American authors by his esteem are Herman Melville, who's my favorite author, and Walt Whitman. And I read Leaves of Grass when I was a sophomore or junior in college, and liked a lot of it and fell under the spell of a couple of lines, but I knew immediately it was something that I would have to return to. Something that's difficult about this author, about good old Walt, is that he kept revising and expanding his poetry all of his life. In Leaves of Grass, he revised and revised and revised, and there are 6 to 9 editions, I believe, depending on how you categorize them, of Leaves of Grass. And it's almost unanimously agreed upon that the first one is the best one, which is kind of sad. But I think it's a good lesson for me to take personally because I as I mentioned all the time, I make music, and so often after I release music, I wish that I could go back and revise it. But it's probably best to just let it be. Let it be a moment in time, accept its faults, rather than create some sort of hodgepodge, collected works, because then a person like me with Walt Whitman comes along and doesn't know what the canon is, doesn't know what the best thing is, and it kind of becomes divided into itself. So I really, really hope that this is the 1855 text of Leaves of Grass. I looked into it and I think it is, but it's even hard to tell, so I'm going to do some more reading about this. But anyways, great transcendental poet. I'm speaking too negatively about him because I'm really excited. But he's also a very beautiful old man. I think he's one of the people who aged very well physically, but apparently not literarily. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, very, very nature-focused writing. Okay, the next is I'll do these two. These are from actually a different bookstore that were 50 cents each. But unfortunately, as I was buying them, I started having crazy itchy fits because I had dry skin. So I stepped outside because it was a very hot bookstore, and Ambi bought them for me while I was away, and she didn't tell the person that they were from the outside 50 cent lot. So it actually ended up being more expensive. But one of them is Brin Brooks by Thomas Mann. And yeah, before I show the other, I should say, this is in rough condition. I made a Magic Mountain cover, which maybe I should show. I should maybe grab it, but maybe I'll show it another time. Maybe I'll make my own Brin Brooks cover too. But one thing I really want to mention about Thomas Mann that I didn't mention earlier is that I've been to his house in Los Angeles. In my freshman year of college, I took a field trip, and I saw his writing desk. I saw where he wrote, actually I don't even know what he was writing at that desk. He could have been writing novels in German like these, but I think it was his later works. Because this is one of his earliest works, if I'm not mistaken. But I probably wouldn't have gotten this, funny enough, if I hadn't have already gotten the Magic Mountain. But having already bought the Magic Mountain, I anticipate liking it and wanting to read another great work of his. And this, in my head, is the second greatest work of his. Or maybe I shouldn't say that, because what do I know? I don't have an opinion yet. But as far as I've heard of Thomas Mann, I hear this about the second most. How do I put this into the English language? I hear about this book at position number 2 in the most books I hear about Thomas Mann. Sometimes I try to come up with sentences with German grammar in my head, and then they get translated into English, and things fall apart very quickly. But maybe that won't happen with this book because it was originally written in German. So yeah, and the other book that I got for that is another Louis L'Amour novel. And this is part of a series, but one of the reasons I wanted to get this is just look how charming he looks on the back cover there. He has such a warm face. So I anticipate him being a warm writer. All right, next. We got some Dickens. I got some English novels. These are Dickens books that I've heard of, especially Hard Times. And I love this Signet Classic. I love Signet Classics because they feel very dense. If you've ever held them in your hand, they feel very cool, if that makes any sense at all. But this is beautiful. It has an interesting cover. It's rather short. And the other one is Dombey and Son. And, I'm just... This whole business of buying books right now is mostly to build my library. Because I, as mentioned many times, I'm coming into reading relatively new as a passionate reader. And I want to feel that I have a back catalog at my disposal, that I don't have to go out and try to buy a book that I'm excited about new, because I think it's more likely that as I read, for instance, other Dickens novels first, I will be excited to have this, but maybe I'm not exactly in this moment. So it's a bit of a gamble buying this, because maybe I won't love this, and maybe I won't be excited to read it, and maybe I'll just have to donate it again. But I trust the world. I trust that Charles Dickens is worth reading, and I trust the back of this book that said that the character portraits in this book are really good. So we'll see how that goes. And then I have William Thackeray's Vanity Fair. And this is in a great Penguin. This isn't even Penguin Classic line. It's just the Penguin English Library. So, yeah, not a Black Spine Classic. But this is a story that I know very little about, besides that one of the characters in this, Becky Sharp, is just a hoot. That's as much as I know about this, that Becky Sharp is one of the great English characters. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I really have books in my head where a character steals the show. I guess Ahab in Moby Dick sort of does, but Ishmael's own voice steals the show the entire time. So I don't really know where I'd go to think for that. So maybe this will be the first kind of spotlight character book that I ever read. We'll see it. All right, next is an omnibus, which I love that word, omnibus. What a great word. And it's of Dashiell Hammett novels. And I mentioned already here that I read The Maltese Falcon because of the Raymond Chandler book I have. And I will make an April Adventures video on that soon. And by soon, I mean in a month or two. And I loved his writing. And the main reason that I wanted to get this book is because Frida is on the cover. How amazing is that? Good on Frida for getting some work, for being a pulp dog. I have no idea what the other books in this are, but I have no doubt whatsoever that I'm going to like reading them. So, stoked for that. Next. This is cool. This is a sequel to a book that I've read twice and that is kind of dear in my heart. The original book is My Side of the Mountain by Jean Craighead George, and this is the sequel, On the Far Side of the Mountain. Not my favorite cover, kind of not a young adult, but maybe young reader's cover. But I read My Side of the Mountain for the second time while I was in the Tetons at the volunteer thing, which I'm about to get back to as I keep mentioning. And there's actually a picture of me asleep in right by the wood stove inside the library. So maybe I'll put that picture here. Ta-da! And if I bring this to the Tetons again, maybe I can replicate that experience and have another delicious nap. But we'll see how it goes. Okay. Oh, this is cool. The next one that I have is a book that I read when I was a kid. And this is a really great experience, is when you find a book that you've read, that you remember, but you haven't thought about since you read it 15 years ago or whatever it is. And this is Al Capone Does My Shirts. And the reason I really wanted to get this is because I just went to Alcatraz for the first time. I took a trip to San Francisco and had a great time with Anbi walking around the island. And on this cover, actually, I think inside of it, there's a map of Alcatraz. Yeah, right here. And I've walked around all these places, so that makes me pretty happy. How about this? How about I play a video right now of Anbi and I looking at the seagulls in Alcatraz while Anbi gives me her commentary about how to pronounce the word seagull. Here we go. Video. Seagull.
Seagull. Seagull. The seagull.
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 Boat. And the video's over. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. So yeah, I got this book because I visited Alcatraz, and I read this as a kid. And I actually remember very vaguely that the ending was really cool. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like the ending is really cool in this book. Yeah, I'm stoked to read this again. It's probably going to be funny because I read a couple of sentences and it was very funny. In fact, what am I doing here? This is a Booktube channel. I can read the opening paragraph. Let's see how it goes. Friday, January 4th, 1935. Today I moved to a 12-acre rock covered with cement, topped with bird turd and surrounded by water. Alcatraz sits smack in the middle of the bay, So close to the city of San Francisco, I can hear them call the score on a baseball game on Marina Green. Okay, not that close, but still, I'm not the only kid who lives here. There's my sister, Natalie, except she doesn't count. And there are 23 other kids who live on the island because their dads work as guards or cooks or doctors or electricians for the prison, like my dad does. Plus, there are tons of murderers, rapists, hitmen, conmen, stick-up-men, embezzlers, connivers, burglars, kidnappers, and maybe even an innocent man or two, though I doubt it. The convicts we have are the kind other prisons don't want. I never knew prisons could be picky, but I guess they can. You get to Alcatraz by being the worst of the worst. Unless you're me. I came here because my mother said I had to. So that's fun. I'm stoked for that. And that actually references, I think, a quote that's famous about Alcatraz, which is that break the rules, go to prison. Break the prison rules, you go to Alcatraz. So, kind of crazy. Alcatraz is fascinating, by the way. I really enjoyed just seeing like the bird sanctuary there, because it's a national park now, and the historical remnants of the Native American occupation in the 1960s, which is also fascinating. Okay, cool. So these are from the kids section. I'll go on to another kids collection, and this is one of the most beloved kids books of all time or series. It's gotta be. It's Frog and Toad. So this is a collected edition. Well, not edition. It just has all 3 books. And Adam recently sent me a meme in which he compared our friendship to their friendship, and it made my heart melt, and now I have to reread them. So seeing this, it has the price tag there. It's $3 for the 3 books. I'm super excited. And if you see these stickers, by the way, I'm just going to heat them up a little bit with a hairdryer and then peel them off, because that seems to work better. But these stickers are luckily a little bit gracious, and they don't stick everything out. Like peel the cover off is what I mean. All right, the next one I got, okay, this might be the only thing that I got that was indulgent. And the reason why is because it's the Jungle Book. And really, this is the Jungle Books. This is Jungle Book 1 and 2, which I had an amazing conversation about with Steve Donahue over on his channel, Part 1, and which I filmed a Part 2 with him, and I haven't uploaded that yet because I wrote a song for it that I haven't recorded. So maybe I'll record that song today. If I do, then it'll probably go up before this video, but maybe it'll go up after this video. But anyways, probably if you're watching this in the future, you can watch me and Steve talk about these, because I really enjoyed the Jungle Books. And I thought they were really beautiful. I loved of course I loved all the Mowgli stories, but I loved every independent short story, particularly The Miracle of Purun Bhagat, which is a story about a high-ranking Indian official who, after 20 years of service, leaves everything behind, leaves his wealth, leaves his stability to go become a beggar and contemplate the infinite, or become a bit of a guru on a mountain. And well, maybe I won't say what happens from them because it's so fascinating, but it's a beautiful story of a really good person leaving everything behind, doing something. Actually, Rudyard Kipling describes what he does is he good as well as dies. He does something no Englishman would ever do. He leaves the exactly what I just said. I mean, he leaves his position. He leaves being one of the most successful politicians in all of India as an Indian man for something that has no monetary benefit. And the fact that Rudyard Kipling says no Englishman would do that, and the fact that Rudyard Kipling clearly admires this man in this book, is a piece of evidence. I'm not trying to say that Rudyard Kipling is some sort of, how would you put it? He's not a progressive guy. And he has faults and he has flaws, but he's more complex than I've been led to believe, and he's worth reading, I think. Maybe I should have a discussion video about him someday and speak in more subtle terms, because, it's a topic that's nuanced. And you can't talk about a topic that's nuanced in a book haul video where you're giving yourself 2 minutes per book. But this is beautiful. It's a hardcover, and the old edition that I read was a bit tight on the page, and this has more space. And I really appreciate that. I think my reading experience of this will be a little bit less confined. And the poetry in it takes up its own page, and it doesn't go into the next. There are also illustrations that are beautiful. So how about that? The Jungle Books. And next is another hardcover from the children's section. And it's another book that I've read, but I don't consider this one indulgent because it's the N.C. Wyeth illustrated edition of Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. And N.C. Wyeth is a famous illustrator. In fact, on my phone, One of my optional home screens is an N.C. Wyeth, I don't believe it's even an illustration, it's like a painting, but it's like an alchemist and his apprentice. And that's beautiful. I mean, look at the castle in the background and the birds and the expression, the contemplation, the alchemy. It's incredible. So he's a great illustrator. And the reason I said that this is not an indulgent buy is because when I just read Treasure Island for April Adventures, video to come, when I just read it, it literally fell apart in my hands. And I mean, I'm talking pages out of the book. The spine was crumbling. I left a bit of a breadcrumb trail reading this, actually. Wherever I went, there were just little pieces of brown and blue binding and paper. So I'm really glad to have a hardcover that will last a little longer with a dust jacket. Oh my gosh, I haven't even seen this. Let me take off the dust jacket and just show you how beautiful it is without. Treasure Island, beautiful spine, beautiful opening cover of all the pirates. And if you have not read this book, oh my gosh, I so recommend reading it. It is one of the great, adventurous, simple reading experiences. The story is so simple, and it's written so simply. And I have tried doing a bit of writing myself recently, actually. And after reading this, I thought everything I've been doing is trying to be too clever, trying to be too, I don't want to say too fun, because I like being fun, but it can do less and succeed more, if that makes sense. There is great writing in this, obviously, but it's not writing that really maybe sticks out, or it definitely doesn't seem to be aware of its own greatness, if that makes any sense. Whereas a book like Moby Dick, which I always bring up whenever I'm talking about books, is it is all over the place, and the writing sometimes can call your attention to the writing, but for me that doesn't matter because it's so good. Okay, these last two are the things that I'm the most excited about. One of them I've already showed in the video today, so I'll show it first. But it's Lonesome Dove, and it's the book that everyone's talking about. Christopher Russell made a video about his June TBR today, and this was the first thing he showed. I made a video about it with Ambi last night, just for fun. I just turned on the camera, and we were laughing and talking about it, because I had a dream that I found this, and then I found it. Like Christopher Russell said, the reputation of this book precedes it, and I probably don't need to describe it to y'all. But apparently, one of the most delightful reading experiences for any reader, regardless of whether they're a Western fan or not. So I'm really excited. There's a really nice compact copy. It is one of those copies where when you open it, some of the text goes deep into the crevasse of the pages. So I'll probably have to kind of pull it out a little bit. So I'm a little scared. I'll break the spine. But maybe I'll reinforce it with packing tape and take it to the Tetons. So we'll see how this goes. Really excited about Lonesome Dove. Really, really excited. Also, every single bit of quotes around it make me excited too. And then I saved the best for last. I didn't say that at the beginning of the video, but I did. I saved the best for last. And it's something that I've showed on this channel from 2 different book hauls. So maybe this is also indulgent, but I don't feel bad about this because it was very cheap. It was less than $10. And it is the complete Sherlock Holmes in a beautiful box. I think it's the complete Sherlock Holmes. At least it's the novels and the stories. So if there's accessory material or unfinished material, maybe it's not there. But look at this. It's a beautiful blue. I believe it was $9, actually. It's hardly even used. And it has all of the illustrations from Strand Magazine that figure into the other omnibus that I got in my, book haul to end all book haul series, if I remember correctly. So yeah, here are the novels. And this was interesting to me. The novels appear to take up less space than the stories. But they're beautiful hardcovers. They're gold and gilded. If you turn to any single page, I think there's an illustration. So I just feel like this is going to be one of those things that I'm proud to have on my shelf. That is almost a show book. It looks beautiful, but I also will want to take this off. So what I'm going to do when I get home is kind of compare and contrast a little bit of what the reading experience would be like of each book, and then see which one I'd want to go for. And then maybe if I don't feel like I want to be reading that other celebrated cases of Sherlock Holmes that I got, I will put it out and give it to someone else. So we'll see how that goes. But besides that, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Those are the books that I got. And the next step for me is going to be to ship them all back home. So I'm going to look up some videos on how to do that safely and securely. One of the things that Ambi told me was that apparently when people try to traffic drugs across the United States, they ship them in books. I really hope that they don't tear my poor books apart looking for drugs, because these are really just precious to me on their own. So anyways, I'm going to go do that and go to the post office. I don't even know how I'm going to get all these over there. But I'm excited to have them. And I think this was ultimately, financially, a good deal, even whatever the shipping costs are. So I'm excited. I have about 3 years of reading ahead of me set out from these books. Maybe I'll go on a book buying ban at some point if I feel like I'm overdoing it. But so far, I just feel joy at buying these books, knowing that I'm starting out my journey. And especially from this haul, I feel like I have additions that make me excited, that make me want to sit down and read. And maybe in an ideal world, you wouldn't need that. You would just need the text itself, maybe just an ebook, and you'd have everything. But I can't lie to you. I really, really love having a beautiful book in front of me. It just feels great. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And I'll make maybe 1 or 2 more videos before I start my mountain adventures. But I might dip off the map for a little bit. Maybe not. We'll see what happens. But I hope you have a great end of your May. And I'll see you again pretty soon, Booktube. Thank you.